councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Guns will be taken, and no one will be able to be armed. We're going to take all guns.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Global governance at last. Is it one world? The central bankers in charge. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
As for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Good evening. It's Friday, December the 28th of 2012. I'm David Ortiz. You're watching InfoWars Nightly News, and here's what we have in store for you tonight.
Tonight, 200 teachers get firearms training in Utah to carry concealed weapons in their classrooms. Meanwhile, Sheriff Joe Arpaio sends armed posse to protect schools in Arizona. And a petition to try Dianne Feinstein for treason gains momentum. That's up next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Welcome back. Well, it seems that more teachers are going to arm themselves. According to an article posted today on USA Today, the headline reads, "Trainer for gun-toting teachers, make it hard to kill a kid." The article reads, class was in session Thursday for about 200 Utah teachers who will get special firearms training working with a plastic gun in a conference room at a hockey arena to carry concealed weapons in their classrooms. Later on in the article, it reads, in Ohio, the Buckeye Firearms Foundation is swamped with 20 times more applications from teachers and administrators to custodians and bus drivers than they have space for in a 3-day tactical defense course to be offered this spring. So there you go. You've got more teachers wanting to conceal carry. Obviously, this is in the wake of what happened in Sandy Hook. It's a good deal. It's a good thing. Obviously, it's part of their Second Amendment rights to protect themselves. People are proposing ridiculous things such as tearing down the school in Sandy Hook where the tragedy happened. Obviously, there are horrible memories that occurred there, but that's going to cost taxpayers millions of dollars. The best way to arm a school is by having people, to protect the school is by having people be armed. Some people are proposing bringing armed police officers to these schools, but obviously that's going to be very costly to taxpayers. The most cost-effective thing to do is to arm teachers if they want to be armed. Now, obviously, you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction. You don't want, tons of people walking around with guns just because they're frightful. They obviously have the right to do that, but it's highly unlikely you're going to be shot by a gun. But, people, they do have the right to do that. They do have the right to arm themselves, despite the fact that the chances of someone getting shot by a gun are extremely low. So this is a better way to go about it than increasing the police state like some liberals are proposing. But in another article posted today at azfamily.com, it seems that Sheriff Joseph Arpaio is saying we're going to arm some schools with police officers. The article reads, Maricopa County Sheriff Joseph Arpaio said Thursday that he plans to deploy his armed volunteer posse to protect Valley schools from the kind of violence that happened in the Connecticut shooting tragedy. Arpaio believes having armed law having armed law officers around schools will deter would-be criminals from trying anything violent and possibly stop them if they do. He says, quote, I have the authority to mobilize private citizens and fight crime in this county. Arpaio first started using his posse to protect malls during the holiday season in 1993 in response to violent incidents in prior years. Since then, he said malls where his posse members are on patrol have had 0 violent reoccurrences, and patrols by his all-volunteer squad during the 2012 shopping season netted a record 31 arrests. So that's another way to go about it. Obviously, some people are going to say the way to keep our kids safe is to have a growing police state. Sheriff Arpaio wants to have armed individuals at schools, and that's certainly his right to do that. It's a far more cost-effective way to obviously just have concealed carry for teachers, but people are going about it their own separate ways. And for those that say the best thing to do to keep our children safe is to disarm the public, it's important to note that only about 12,000 people in the United States die annually from gun violence, and that's mostly due to drug-related incidences, and it usually happens on property where guns are not allowed. So it's less than a 1% chance that you will die from a gun, but the liberals such as Piers Morgan think that the best way to do it is to disarm people. It was Mahatma Gandhi that said in his autobiography that one of the worst things Britain did to the Indians was to disarm them. Gandhi called it one of the bleakest moments in Indian history. But if you call yourself a person of peace and are in disagreement with Gandhi, you might want to reconsider your stance. And also for all those Europeans that say they're so much safer in Europe than they are in the United States, it's important to note that twice as many people are raped in Europe as they are in the United States, and burglaries are twice what they are here in the United States as well. Also in England, according to Reason magazine, about 50% of home burglaries that occur in England, the homeowner is there 50% of the time, whereas in the United States, when a burglary occurs, the homeowner is only there about 13% of the time. So again, obviously this is a better way of going about it by having concealed carry and you know, having armed officers. That's not my favorite way, but it's even better than having a growing police state. Now, speaking of filth, Senator Dianne Feinstein, is proposing drafting a bill in Congress in early January that will disarm the American people. It's basically saying that she would take, I believe, assault weapons away from people who don't already have them, and she would make it harder. You'd have to register, things of that nature. So as a result, there's a petition that's taking place right now that says, try Senator Dianne Feinstein in a federal court for treason to the Constitution. And right now, I don't know how many people, I think it's about 5,000 at last count. There you go, about 5,100 people. If you think that she should be tried for treason, we encourage you to fill out that petition. And it's also important to note that we here at InfoWars are sponsoring a petition, or spearheading a petition for Piers Morgan, basically saying that if you don't agree with Piers Morgan, you know, maybe he should be deported. And at last count, we have nearly 90,000 people are saying that Piers Morgan should be deported. And obviously we have, I believe, a couple more days before that needs to be submitted. So we the people, we encourage you to fill out these petitions. Supposedly the White House is supposed to comment if you hit 25,000 signatures, but we don't know if that's going to happen. Now, speaking of gun news, we're going to continue with gun news, and it seems that Hollywood wants to preach to us some more. And a PSA, a special video that was edited together, shows the hypocrisy of Hollywood liberals. Let's go to that video.
I like the way you die, boy.
Kill all the white people in the movie. How great is that?
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
The hypocrisy is literally laughable. They're so selectively moral. Do you know that over 100,000 kids are aborted in the third trimester? Over 100,000. And you've got 12,000 people killed by firearms, most of them because of drug-related situations. But these people, look at their selective morality. They don't, they don't do this for abortion in the third trimester. They don't attack Barack Obama for the drug war that kills thousands annually. He could end that today if he wanted to. They don't talk about how Barack Obama's drone airplanes over Pakistan have killed thousands of people, innocent individuals. So they're very selective with their morality. Again, the United States is actually safer than Europe when it comes to assault crimes. And look at Switzerland. In Switzerland, every male is required to have, I believe, a semi-automatic. They're all required to have a gun. I'm not a gun guy, but I know they're all required to have a gun. And as a result, Switzerland is one of the safest countries in Europe. And many of the violence, the firearm murders that occur also involve individuals who are mentally ill as well. So the chances that you're just walking down the street and get killed by someone who is sane is extremely minimal. Now, in